When you smooth your models, you're actually adding detail to them. There are many times when you want to keep your models light, but also smooth them. And for this, we can use what are called subdivision surfaces. Now, what this does is it essentially smooths your model interactively. So it adds the smoothing that you need, but it keeps the overall geometry load low. So let's take a look at how this works. The easiest way to smooth geometry is to select an object, and we have three key presses here. We have one, which keeps it at the base mesh, two, which smooths the object but also overlays that mesh, which you can see here, and that's called the cage, and then three, where it actually gets rid of the cage and it shows you the smooth mesh. So we have 1, 2, and 3. Now what this does is it basically shows you a smooth version of the mesh, but allows you to have the original detail here. So if I were to go into, say, vertex mode and start to model, you'll see that I'm actually now modeling a smooth surface. So this is a great way to visualize how your object will look when it's smoothed, and also a way to keep your load light, because a lot of renderers support subdivision surfaces. So what we see here can show up in the renderer. It just depends on what renderer you use. Now, when you start to smooth meshes like this, you do need to pay attention to how the detail in your model is organized. I'm going to go ahead and right-click and go into object mode for this. And let's go ahead and smooth everything. So I'm going to go ahead and select everything in the scene and then just hit 3 to smooth it. Now, most of this looks pretty good. The chair looks good, the cushions look good, but if we look underneath, the legs and that support aren't really smoothing the way that we want. Now, I went ahead and added a layer for this chair, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it off so we can just see the legs and that support. So when I select all of these and I hit 1, you can see that this is the geometry. When I hit 3, it smooths way too much and it doesn't really look like it's supposed to. So let's go ahead and hit 2 and see the two of those overlaid. So now you can see the cage here and the smooth geometry here. So this is the original geometry, and then when it smooths, when I hit 2, it's going to look like this. Now, the thing that really matters with this is where you put your edge loops. So here, I don't have any detail between these points. This particular model has just 4 edges along the inside. In order to get more detail, I need to insert some more edge loops. So I'm going to go into Mesh Tools and do an Insert Edge Loop. And I'm going to just insert one right here. Now watch what happens. It starts to expand. We can do the same thing on the other side. So by having a little bit more detail here, this is going to start smoothing between here and here rather than here and here. So if I bring one here in the middle and here, you can see how it's starting to lessen that curvature. So the position of these edge loops really matter in terms of how the object smooths. So if I place an edge loop really tight here and here, I'm getting something that actually resembles a corner. Now if I were to move these by going into Mesh Tools, Slide Edge, and then middle clicking and dragging, you can see how that curvature changes as I slide that edge loop. Now we have the same up here, so let's go ahead and just insert some more edge loops to make this work. Now another way to do this is to do an offset edge loop and just click on here. So I can offset that edge loop and just make it very tight. Offset that one, and left click and drag to offset this one. So now I have something that looks reasonably good. So when we have subdivision surfaces, or smoothing for that matter, The position of your edge loops is very important because those are what control the curvature of your surface.